Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello,
This is
Tim.
Yeah. Who's this?
This is John.
Well, hello, John.
It's a little bit colder here than it is where you are.
It's got it up to about 85 degrees today.
We're gonna lag.
Here I can see everybody. Great.
We were a little short of that, right?
Yeah.
60 degrees short of that, maybe?
Yeah, so on Friday.
Tim can participate, given that he can hear and we can see.
You say I can or can't?
Yes, may participate in final action only if a member can be seen and heard.
Oh, all right.
He
So I
also
get to.
counts for a quorum.
Good. Great.
We see you and hear you. That's a good
But-
thing.
But votes must be taken by roll call if we need his
Okay.
vote.
Did it snow there?
Very
Did
little.
not.
In my house, I had very little last night.
Sadly, because Winterfest would be a lot more quaint if it did. Fingers crossed. You guys want to go ahead and get started?
Sure.
All right, here we go. We're online. This is the December 8th meeting of the Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation. And due to Governor Holcomb's Emergency Management and Disaster Law Act, we are doing this meeting both in person and online tonight. The first thing we're going to do is take the roll call. I will mention that board members Aaron Bidwell and Sarah Moore are not present tonight. We have Tim Cassidy via a Zoom link from Florida, and we're going to go ahead and take roll. So we'll start with Tim Cassidy.
I am here.
John Wallenberg.
Here.
Joe Pack.
Here.
John Selwitz.
Here.
All right. The next order of business will be the approval of the November 10th minutes. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes that they would like to speak about? And with no comments then, does anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
John Wallenberg makes the motion. Does anybody have a second?
I will second the motion.
All right, Tim Cassidy seconds that motion. And by the advice of our council, we're going to take a roll call vote. So The motion has been put forward to accept the minutes as they are presented. We start with Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
I abstain. I was not present.
John Salowitz,
Abstain, was not present.
and I say aye. So the motion carries. Does the motion carry, Roger, with 3 people? 3 out of 5?
I'm gonna have to check that one too. We haven't had that question in a while. You can go on and I'll check that. So, if it turns out that that's not enough, then we'll have to approve those minutes at the next meeting.
Okay, fair enough. All right, next order of business will be public presentations or comments. Does anyone from the public have anything that they would like to say? Anybody online? No? All right, then we'll move on to staff reports. And the first staff report will come from our superintendent, Jared Logston. Jared?
Thank you, John. Just one thing I wanted to include from the staff report from the superintendent, and that is the weed wrangles that were conducted over the month of November. On November 6th and November 20th.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, no, not a problem. So 2 weed wrangles targeting honeysuckle were conducted in the month of November. 50 volunteers mobilized on November 6th and 20th to tackle the invasive honeysuckle in 2 of our parks, Carter Station and Creekside Nature. Their efforts removed over 20 truckloads of honeysuckle. This initiative will continue in 2022 and be led by our natural resource technician that we're currently recruiting for. I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you, hats off, standing ovation to the Zionsville Parks maintenance team for completing the Winterfest ice rink platform, not only ahead of schedule, but to the precision necessary to have an operating ice rink. That means it had to be level within a 1/4 inch across the 50 by 70 platform. So very impressive, outstanding work. So I just want to give a special shout out to Matt, Blaine, Rick, Greg, and Bryce. And also Will, sorry, can't forget Will. That is all for the superintendent report.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I'll make a quick one. I did stop by the Winterfest site today and it looks great. The rink looks great, and Mindy and Wendy were setting up the activity area. I'm sure you'll talk about that as we get further on, but that looks very nice as well. It's going to be a great event. All right, Jared, next item is the maintenance services.
I'll pass on the maintenance in lieu of the praise for the platform, and also mention that on top of the platform, they also stayed on top of their normal park maintenance duties. So this large project was definitely out of the normal scope of their operations. So again, accolades to the park maintenance team.
Okay. All right, the next item is from the Director of Recreation Services, and I did see Mindy today, and she indicated that you were going to speak for her tonight. So.
Yeah, we are pulling a lot of hours this week, as you can imagine. So happy to report from her findings of the month. The Nature Center saw over 804 walk-ins during this month, which is still impressive for such a small space. And they offered over 30 programs between nature education and recreation. So as busy as ever providing for the community, and several hundred people got to enjoy those 30 programs. And right now we're all hands on deck getting ready to welcome and participate in Winterfest. So very excited.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a report from the Park Board Attorney, Roger.
I don't have a lot to talk about, but we still have an easement issue with Everstream. That's for an internet connection cable that I think is going to serve the high school. And they've been providing information and they're going to be seeking your approval of an easement in order to bore a line underneath the rail trail just north of Mulberry Street. And I keep telling them what they need to do, and so far they haven't done it. And so I think it's been shifted to somebody who knows what to do. So I still, and I thought that was going to happen before now, but it hasn't, which is not our problem. But just to let you know that that will be coming up in the future. And the other things, big things I've been involved in are the acquisition of the property up for the North Rail Trail connection. That's in the hands of the attorney for the family. So that's underway. And then also the 2 trailhead properties at Zionsville Road. I talked to their attorney today, and actually there is one action item I'd like to submit to you. So, you know, we back in August, we reached agreement on the acquisition of those 2 homes that will be the site of our trailhead. And I assume the plans are mostly done, if not done. And we're hoping to bid that this winter to be ready to start construction in the spring, which I still think is very doable. There were a couple issues that came up regarding some environmental issues. I think we've solved those. I was able to find the environmental study that was done 25 years ago when we acquired the entire, you know, the rail trail property. And so that answered some of those questions. And they agreed, we agreed to give them basically 6 months of time, you know, to vacate because they have to find new homes. In a situation like that, you know, you really have to go beyond, or not beyond, but you have to you know, do what you can to support their needs and their ability to relocate, you know, with a comparable home. And as you can imagine, that's not always easy. So I talked to their attorney today, and we think everything's good. But he did ask whether it might be possible to give them some more time to relocate. And I kind of anticipated this a long time ago and said that in the agreement we put end of February, kind of knowing that end of March was when we would, in other words, we had an extra 30 days kind of built in there. So if it's okay, if it still seems okay, and I told them, you know, they need to get me some more information, and in order to, you know, for us to work with them, they have to work with us. So if they get us additional information, then we would be in a position to give them another 30 days, which would be the end of March, to move out. So are there any questions or concerns about that?
What is the time period between when we have a signed document and when it will be executed? Does it have to be a 30-day period?
So our plan is to close this either by the end of the year or in early January. And that's what I told them is that, you know, we have to be able to close it. And then, and I also told them that, you know, we will always be willing to work with them, but we do have to have a deadline. So the plan is to close, and then they would have until the end of March, and their attorney was going to talk to them and make sure they understood the importance of that. So again, I can't tell you that everything's going to be totally smooth, but you know, the attorneys are doing what they can to keep everything on schedule.
Okay, but do we have closing documents ready to go?
I had those documents prepared a couple months ago.
Okay.
And then we had to deal with their mortgage companies, and then the environmental issue came up. So I don't know of any other issue. Well, actually one that I was checking with the title company and with the town financial officer today regarding whether the town is able to do wire transfers to a title company. We'll figure that out. So, you know, there's always things to work out, but I think it's on track.
Okay, and just one other question about the Kane property to the north.
Mhm.
Where are we on closing documents for that? Are those still being drawn up?
Yes, because I prepared the agreement and submitted to them. I'm waiting on them to provide some title information. So I talked to their attorney a few days ago and he didn't indicate any issue with it. So
And I'm sorry, you probably have said this. What's the time frame on that then? That we're shooting for?
on that one, I would say we'd probably be looking at closing in January. You know, I'm not aware of any issues other than they have to provide information to prove that they have the appropriate capacity to sign documents.
Yeah.
But once we get that, I haven't seen anything else that would be a problem there. It's a much different situation than the two houses because
Right.
it's just a right of way, you know, along the street and along an existing county road.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I've got a quickie, yeah, on the Kane property, yeah, that I would anticipate, we just need to keep on them about getting the descendants sorted out of Arthur and Wanda Kane. Another quickie, Roger, I received a call about 10 days ago from Mike Garrison, who's the very last Western landowner. He's got the 25-foot egress strip on that very west end. And so he's saying, just asking for an update, still very, very supportive, super great citizen, supportive of trails. And I said, yeah, we owe you a draft easement to ensure that you could use that as a egress driveway if ever need be. But he's looking for that easement. So you may want to get that going as well. We'd probably need that, make sure that's in good shape in order to get that all bid out if everything comes together in January.
Okay. And Trish is not here tonight, but I'll follow up with her in order to, I'll need to make sure I've got the legal description for that area that we need that easement on. I know it's a relatively simple situation, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Yep.
Any more questions or comments for Roger? No?
Is March do we, provided there's no other extensions, that doesn't impact anything on our end, does it? If we go to the end of March?
I don't think so. I mean, that's what we talked about before was that March was kind of our date and we had an extra month in there. So
Anything after that will back us up though, right?
It'll begin to shift kind of how we're doing things. The grant is valid through May 2023. So as far as the grant's concerned, we do have an extended period to satisfy the project, but it would be nice as we begin construction throughout the trail system to kind of wrap it up in a timely manner.
Okay.
All right, if there are no further comments, we'll move on to new business. And
just to be clear, so I have authority to grant them that extension if they continue to uphold their
so we need to vote on that?
side. That'd be a good idea.
Okay. Would
Have a
anybody like to
motion.
make a resolution on allowing the folks on the southern terminus of the rail trail to stay till the end of March and
May.
begin our?
End of March, yeah.
Anybody
So
like to make that motion?
moved. I'll make that motion.
Tim Cassidy makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
John Wallenberg seconds. Okay, let's take the roll. Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Selowitz,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. So that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, and now moving seamlessly into new business where we're going to talk about the rail trail widening issue. Jared?
I'd like to start with the golf course change order, if that's all right.
Sure.
All
We'll
right.
go out of order and we'll go to the golf course pathway change order.
As you may recall, the Zionsville Golf Course Cart Path Improvement Project was awarded in September and began construction late October. The project was to overlay and replace a large percentage of the cart paths on site. Tonight before you is the second change order associated with that project. While preparing the pathways at the southern end of the course, a section of the path was discovered to not hold proper compaction rates for successful paving. As you look at this photo, you can see the footprints from people walking on the rolled earth. As you can imagine, a trampoline is not a good foundation for a pathway. So in order to correct this, we're proposing a 12-inch cut of soil, an additional 12 inches of stone, as well as the laying of a geogrid. And this will provide the proper surface area and compaction to properly support the pathway that'll be on top. With that work and the compaction, the earthwork, and the materials, the total of the change order would be $14,160. There are contingency funds allocated to this project to accommodate this change order, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So this segment of the path is going up a hill on the backside. We believe that during the creation of the course, this hill was likely fill, and it just never properly settled and compacted like the rest of the course. So
What hole is this on?
this is, would that be 6 feet? 7. This is near hole 7.
It goes up the hill from the T area of 6 to the, or I'm sorry, from the green of 6 to the T area of 7, that elevated T. of
Oh,
7.
okay, yeah.
This is the one that goes T-7 down to the
T7 down, yeah.
With this and the other change order, how much room is in the contingency still?
A very small amount. We would have to really consider any future change orders. So the majority of the earthwork has been done on the lower section. So whenever you dig in the dirt, you know, you may find surprises, but it's nice to hear so far we haven't had any surprises on the lower end. So we're hoping this is the last change order of this project.
And what was the amount on this one again?
This one is 14,160 for the 12-inch earthwork, laying of the geogrid, an additional 12 inches of stone, and then the paving.
My thoughts are that you and I were there the other day and walked through the whole project, and it seems like every area of the project has been touched to some level at this point. So is it fair to say that we're not likely to come up with any more surprises like this? I mean, they pretty much know what they're dealing with the rest of the way.
Yeah, you never say never. Again, when you're in these projects, as we've learned with Overly Warman and all the surprises along the way. But yeah, this is a much more uniform project. They have done the majority of the dirt work, the earthwork, the earth moving. So most of those surprises should just have resolved by now. So the first change order was to improve the original project and make sure this is a functioning cart path system that's going to improve play. And this one is identifying one issue before it becomes a problem in the future.
Well, I will say for those of you who haven't been over there to walk it and to see what they're doing, it's going to make a tremendous difference for the course. It's going to make it much more playable, much more enjoyable for people. I am concerned that we're getting close to our, red line where we know we don't have, more funds to fund change orders. But it seems to me in this case that it's important that we do this. This is an important path, and to just pave over what we have there is going to put us in very short order in the same situation that we're in now. Seems to me.
The integrity of that path without a proper base, it wouldn't last, similar to what we've seen across the entire course. So
yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Are they confident they can dig down far enough and provide enough stone that it won't settle once they do that?
The geogrid is designed to kind of create that surface area necessary. So kind of think of those commercials with the trash bag liner that stretches as the trash goes in. That's essentially what the geogrid does. It allows that footing. And again, the extra 12 inches of stone will also create that compaction needed.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion that we accept the change order for the golf course pathway project?
I'll move that we accept the change order as proposed. I would just like to say, and it's not just the golf course. I'm concerned about the length of Overly Warman Park and the south extension. It's more frustration from my point of view that everything's getting stretched out and is coming in late. The golf course still has the potential to be on time. I mean, again, we're in crunch time, so I would just make the motion, but underscore to Jared and Trish to just keep on top of it and do everything possible. And it may be impossible to get this completed before opening time in March.
All right, we have a motion from Tim Cassidy to accept the golf course change order. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jill Pack seconds. Let's take a roll call vote. Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Woolenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
and I too will vote aye. So that passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the rail trail widening project overview. Jared?
Give a brief overview of this project, and then we'll dive into a presentation that was prepared by Tricia McCullen of REA. Thanks to the Next Level Trails Grant Award and the 2019 Trail Bond Funds, the Zionsville Parks Department has granted an opportunity to not only extend and complete our segment of the Big Four Rail Trail, but also improve and widen the established segment through town. This widening will not only improve flow for our current residents, but also accommodate future growth and added traffic as we connect to our neighboring communities. The Park Board approved services to explore the widening of the existing segment of rail trail, and REA has conducted that initial scoping study, and we'll talk about that here tonight. So Jonathan, all right. So in October, REA was on site to create a detailed assessment of the conditions of the asphalt. As they were on site, they were checking for areas of obvious erosion and water damage from improper draining across the trail, as well as segments that were in decent shape and could be salvaged or improved upon. So they also looked at adjacent conditions, including the embankments, utilities, and views from neighborhoods, as well as drainage and stormwater concerns. Based upon their findings, there's a couple of pictures of our beautiful rail trail. You can see in the next set of photos, some of that cracking that has been experienced. We're on slide 4 now. Yep. If you look to the center photo and the photo on the right, you can see some of the cracking that just naturally happens with aging asphalt and also vegetation nearby, and also water damage. And then the first picture just kind of detailing where the vegetation line is and how that might create challenges as we widen with some tree removal. Moving along. Then the photo set in front of you demonstrates, some of the other challenges, not only with drainage, but also the retention of water and the shoulders that are the channels in which water flows and drains towards stormwater. So widening the trail obviously would require substantial earth moving in those segments to not only improve the channel that could still operate, but also build a trail in the existing channel. So as we look into the analysis of, one more slide there, John, thank you. So the green segments, as you can see, is kind of from Heritage Trail Park North. Oh, sorry, I apologize for that. That is north of Mulberry Fields, past Carter Station to Heritage Trail. That is considered green and favorable conditions for widening. The red segment, which is approximately just north of Mulberry Fields near the Zionsville United Methodist Church in south, does create some significant challenges for tree clearing, stormwater, infrastructure, and grading, potentially retaining walls as well to not only improve those channels, but also build where there's no longer a rail grade. So as from those computations, REA did propose 5 concepts for us to review tonight. And as we look over these concepts, I just want to discuss some other trails in the region. So we'll go down one more slide. So in Muncie and beyond, the Cardinal Greenway is 10 to 12 feet. The Ohio River Greenway is also 10 to 12. The Monon goes from 8 up to 12. B&O Trail also 12, and the Nickel Plate Trail that's going near Fishers is also 10 to 12. So 15 foot would be one of the largest trails in the region if we did pursue that option. So moving on into the concepts. Option 1 would be to establish a new rail trail at 15 foot throughout. The areas in green again offer the best results for widening the path through that segment. In the red, again, is going to create significant challenges with stormwater infrastructure clearing and grading. And again, with challenges come increased cost. As we move on to option 2, this is that same 15-foot width trail, but looking at the other options we have for establishing the trail, and that is through an overlay process, which utilizes the existing asphalt and overlays on that, or a total milling and removal and replacement of the asphalt. So utilizing what's there and improving it or creating new are kind of our options there. So as you can see throughout the project, there are opportunities to overlay, which would save funding. And then there's also segments that make sense and require the total removal and replacement. And again, that would be based on the erosion issues and the wear and tear on the asphalt. Option 3 is beginning to explore a combination of 12 and 15-foot pathways. By reducing to 12, we could minimize some of those costs in the red section where it's going to be challenging to widen the existing trail. So with option 3, this is a combination of 12 and 15 widths that replaces the existing paths throughout. The areas in green would be 15-foot wide with minor grading. The areas in red would be 15-foot wide with significant clearing and grading. And the areas in yellow would have to remain 12-foot with significant grading, clearing, and stormwater infrastructure. So a large portion of this widening project is going to be slightly challenging compared to just a simple overlay. Option 4, again, is a combination of 12-foot and 15-foot, but again, utilizing that overlay versus remove and replace options, creating cost savings. So kind of shows the areas that could be overlaid successfully and those that they recommend for removal and replacement. So about a 50-50 split there. And option 5 is to create a uniform trail with the widening project that is 12 feet wide and utilize a combination of new trail and overlay where the trail is good. And in the green segments, mill and overlay with additional width added to the sides, and in the yellow, a complete remove and replace. So as we look at these options, there's kind of a comprehensive spread of what we're discussing tonight. Based on the existing funds and the opportunities we have before us, I believe our only path forward at this time is concept 5, which is a 12-foot uniform path utilizing a combination of overlay and remove and replace. So thanks to, in 2021, we have witnessed exponential growth in the unit cost for materials. We've had to update our projections for the northern expansion as well as the trailhead, and we're seeing thousands of dollars added to those totals. And that's just what the market is right now since the pandemic, and with the growth in this region, it's across the board with construction projects in central Indiana and beyond. So central Indiana is a very active part of the state for construction, and the trend is being seen region-wide. Fortunately for us, we do have a couple of options before us to create a unique opportunity for cost savings. So tonight, I would like to discuss and propose that Zionsville Parks prepares construction documents and further explores concept 5, which is a 12-foot uniform path through the widening segment of the rail trail. Additionally, I believe we should adjust the scope of the northern expansion to match this 12-foot segment. So from Heritage Trail north to the connection at Whitestown, I propose we stay a uniform 12-foot rather than variations of 14 and 15-foot. A couple of reasons for that. So the proposed northern expansion will extend from Heritage Trail up to Hampshire Subdivision, where there's already a 12-foot existing pathway that the rail trail will utilize to traverse the subdivision, and then we pick up again with the Kane property and head west to our connection with Whitestown. So to me, it doesn't necessarily make sense to go from 15 down to 12 and then back to 15 for the last half mile. And further, as we look at our regional impact, Whitestown is proposing a next level trails grant round 3 application. And in their application, they're proposing a 10-foot pathway. So I think it'd be quite drastic to go from a 15-foot pathway on our side down to 10. And with the 12-foot path, we're seeing that as kind of the standard right now for central Indiana. The large majority of trails, the Monon, the B&O, they're all at that 10 to 12-foot mark. So I believe we could accommodate not only our local traffic of today, but also as our population continues to grow, we could accommodate that with the 12-foot path as well as our connection to Whitestown and our neighboring communities. So given the life of asphalt, as Zionsville doubles in the next couple of decades, maybe it's time to look at then the 15-foot width to accommodate it then. But I do feel confident the 12-foot trail at this time is the appropriate measure.
Can you go back to that comparison?
Yep.
Are you, oh, there. What's the life expectancy of the overlay?
The overlay is slightly shorter, so that's 15 years and under. You know, you are using what's there, and what's there is in the condition it is just through wear and tear. Whereas opposed where we do the remove and replace, you know, you're going to see more erosion in those spots. So we know there's an issue that we're going to try to correct with improved drainage and stormwater management. So the overlay will be a shorter life, but at this time, it's a cost-saving mechanism that still gives us time to properly budget and prepare for future trail management.
And by comparison, the Turkey Foot Road Trail that goes to Holiday Farms now, that's a 12-foot wide trail.
I believe so, yes.
So that gives us the comparison to those of you who've been on that. It makes sense to me to stick with a 12-foot trail, particularly since Whitestown's is going to be more narrow, since we already have existing 12-foot trail in Hampshire. And what about the trail that goes through Von Terra? Is that a 12-foot?
That's a 15. Von Terra is a 15-foot, and then it will remain with the South Extension project. It will remain 15 feet to the 100-foot bridge. And then we made a change for that, if you'll recall, for that South Extension from the 100-foot bridge all the way to Starkey Avenue Bridge. We narrowed it to 12. We said no, and it was somewhat because of aesthetics and lots of trees, but we said no, let's save some money. Take care of aesthetics. We don't want this to be a highway through here, so let's make it 12.
And we're talking about 12-foot and all the way up to Whitestown.
Through Nancy Burton Trailhead forward all the way to Whitestown.
Okay.
So really creating that uniform trail we spoke of, and just with a wider base to accommodate 5K races or cyclist races where at the beginning of the race, everyone's together, and then through natural progression, they begin to form their lines at their paces. So I think it's a good investment that we have the 15-foot wide starting point from the trailhead, and then naturally it can go to a more sustainable and practical 12-foot.
Yeah,
And
I'm all
the
for that.
difference in-
And I think the 15-foot around Overlay Warman Park makes sense too, because that'll be almost an entrance to Overlay Warman Park to a large distance of that 15-foot swath. So I think it's a good compromise. I mean, boy, we did the bond money 3 years ago, the 5-year plan looking at widening this in the North Extension. We weren't thinking the estimates would be as high as what we're getting. So it is a concern and may force us to reprioritize in the future. I mean, I guess that's 5-year plan process. We may be crunched.
Also, given the timing of this widening project, should we execute the construction documents, we could prepare those and bid those with the northern expansion. So creating a larger economy of scales for one project and one inconvenience to the community at the time of closure, and provide that project altogether. I think that would be advantageous.
Is there like a base timeline for start and completion? They give an idea how long it would take?
For the widening, no, I don't have a projection on that yet. Concerning the construction documents, that would take a little over 2 months. So it would put us right at that March timeframe. when it's also time to bid out the trailhead. So with that many projects on the rail trail, I think maybe even all three could be bid together. And again, amass that economy of scales with the unit prices and also less project management through multiple separate projects.
And I think it's no small thing that when you look at the different concepts we have here, there's a significant cost savings with concept number 5 as well from concept number 1. So in addition to the aesthetic things that we're talking about and the practical things that we're talking about, it also saves a significant amount of money to go with the 12-foot.
Between concepts 1 and 5, it's approximately around a $2 million difference. So really those unit prices have went from, $4.55 for asphalt up to, we're, estimating 8, 9, 10. It's
Could options, with it take, because the cost savings with 5 and take away, we say, okay, no, we get away from the overlay and do a redo. Could there be an option to do that as well? Or is that just, we're talking too much?
Would you like to, yeah, we could explore a total removal and replacement
It
cost.
seems like we had all these options, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the 5 all of a sudden like, okay, we're not going to do a thing over here. It just seemed like kind of a, I don't know what the right word is, just kind of splotchy, if you will. And I think it'd be good to see an option of, okay, 5, where we do a complete overlay and then also try to save by utilizing what we have. So
We could explore that. And just based off the cost estimates, the mixing of overlay and new asphalt for concept 5 puts it right in our price range based on our existing funds. So
okay.
I think if we did explore the total removal and replacement, we would have to find that funding through other sources, which we could get creative with that. But again, that's taken from other future projects. So it's really how we want to position the rail trail in the larger scheme of the park system as well. With the 15-year, approximate lifespan for an overlay, that is a nice time frame to begin to set up those funding sources for the replacement and upkeep and maintenance. It will definitely be advantageous to have one uniform trail, relatively all the same age, that we can monitor and invest in and budget for.
that was kind of thought. And how old is the base?
Was it the 90s that the rail trail was placed?
The late 90s, right?
So
I mean, some of it's earlier than that.
Well,
The actual paving of it.
The part, Spring Knoll, the part north of Mulberry was built at the same time as Spring Knoll subdivision.
Yeah, and that was 99. I did a lot of work in Spring Knoll. So
And that,
so
so that was new asphalt and it's from 99 until
yeah, so that
2021. And it's not, deteriorated completely yet. We've repaired some patches, but for the most part, it still holds. But I think we are creating a choke point right now with the 8 to 10 foot segment of the trail as we go from, the new 14, 12 on the southern end and then 12 again on the north end. So
that's actually had there's a lot of root issues too, doesn't it? If I remember right. There through Spring Knoll's got a lot of
and
seams and it seems like a lot of root issues there from trees.
yes, yep, we've had to grind down some of those projections. So, and part of the widening would take care of some of that with, minimal tree removal, but still some, absolutely. But I think that, the larger costs, it's kind of north of that Mulberry, that rail bed is not much wider than the trail now with those shoulders of the waterways. So to widen that is going to substantially change that area. So I think 12 we can accommodate, but again, anything larger.
All right, do we need to pass a motion on which one to accept tonight?
Well,
I think that's fair. The funding was already approved in the August meeting, but I think it's a good idea to have which option we want to pursue.
right. Yeah. Yeah. If we're ready, if you're ready to take action, then go for it. And by the
Make a
way,
motion to accept concept 5 for the widening of the rail trail.
To 12 feet, John Selowitz makes a motion that we accept concept number 5 with the widening to go to 12 feet on most of the trail. And so that's the motion. Do we have a second?
Before a second, what was your, by the way?
That I looked at the quorum requirements, and the quorum is 4 members, but it takes 3 members to approve something.
Okay.
So we're good.
We're good. Okay. Do we have a second on John's motion?
I
I'll
would
make the
second that.
Okay. Tim Cassidy has made that second from 3,000 or 2,000 miles away. We'll take a vote. Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Wollenberg,
Aye.
Joe Pack,
I,
John Salowitz,
Aye.
and I too say aye. So that passes unanimously. All right, the next item under new business is the board officer nominations for 2022. And I was told by Roger earlier this week that we cannot actually vote on new officers until 2022. So we are ultimately going to table this, but I would like everyone to know that due to term limits in our statute, Tim cannot continue as president. However, he can stay on the board. And I've asked him to do that and help ride herd on the new 5-year plan development, which is going to be an important function of our board next year. John Wollenberg is allowed 2 years in this go round as secretary. So he is available for another year as secretary. And I think he, giving his experience and long service to the board, is really uniquely positioned to stay in that role and to do a great job in that role. And I think that my thought would be that Jill would be a great person to consider for vice president, given her service to the board and also the fact that she's recently retired and has time to carry out that role. I think she's
Congratulations.
situated to take on that role. But again, this is something that we will have to deal with at the beginning of January, at our first meeting in January, on January 12th. We can vote on that to now, but I also want people to think about the 5-year plan that we're going to be developing next year. That will include multiple public meetings, and that'll be a long process, an important process, because that's going to inform what we do, really for the rest of the decade, for the rest of the 20s. That's going to be important. And I'm really pleased that Tim is going to be able to bring his experience and his talents to bear and to help see that process through. So I think we're all very fortunate that he's able to do that. So with that all being said, we will table this item until January, at which time we will make the new board officer nominations and take a vote on who our officers are going to be for 2022. Anybody have any comments that they would like to add to that?
No comment.
Okay, Tim?
I've got
Okay,
it
I'll take
unmuted.
that
Yeah,
as a no. I guess we are ready to move on then to old business. And the first item under old business would be Overly Warman Park. Jared?
All right, John, you want to pull up my last slide of the night? Sorry, the other presentation. Yep. Okay, with Overly Warman Park, if you look at the bottom left photo and also the top right. So construction is continuing at Overly Warman Park. These shelters have been placed near the playground, and the playground has began to be constructed. So lots of activity in the most active portion of the park. Progressive Trail Design has also been on site all month developing the mountain bike trail system, and it is looking phenomenal. They're utilizing the stone that is a hindrance in some portions of the project and embracing it and creating unique features that will create a very fun experience for our mountain bike users in that a mile of trail. So progress does continue out at Overly Warman Park. That's all for that.
Also, in the picture we had there, the Starkey Road Bridge is no longer there. I walked by there today and it is gonzo. It looks very different in that area. And
That would be weird to see.
it looks like progress is being made there, and that's going to be great. So I'm sorry, Jared.
Oh, that's fine. So we can move right on to the Rail Trail Southern Extension. There was a 1937 water line that was identified during early demolition of the bridge. So that did halt the project while citizens mobilized to reroute the water main. So that line has been rerouted and the project was able to resume this past Monday. So HIS is back on site with the demolition of the old Starkey Bridge. A lot of rebar, a lot of concrete on site. In the coming, I think next meeting, we will have a change order to accommodate for those added days of the delay in the project. But we're still on track to have the bridge completed in February and be able to open it up back to the public, at which point they'll enjoy the natural trail for a couple months, and then we'll close it for just about a week to pave over and finish the project in the spring.
And by natural trail, you mean it'll be muddy?
It will be muddy.
Yeah, okay. All right, anybody have any thoughts on that or any comments?
Now, is that the time frame for reopening Starkey as well? The road under the bridge?
Yes, yep. So it'll be,
It's a hot question everywhere.
Yeah.
yeah, it's never convenient to close a road. So we are working as fast as we can to get that back open.
Right, that the water line has been rerouted and everything is done there. So now it's a matter of
We're back
the
on
other
track.
construction and we're back in the
That's right.
process. Okay. All right, the next item, the Starkey Park Trail 3 stairs.
If you look at the most left photo, that is a picture of the progress out at SP3 Starkey staircase. The footers have been poured and the framing for the staircase has been complete. Next, they will begin decking and complete the project with final grading and reseeding in the area. So things are moving along fantastic. I think we will keep this staircase closed throughout the winter so the seed has a proper chance to take root and germinate in the spring. So residents can still get down to the lower section through SP1 in the woods. So we're happy to open that up next year and have a brand new, less treacherous staircase.
One that dogs can go down to.
Yes,
That'll
wooden
be,
and
that'll be
friendly.
nice. Okay. Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
It's great.
Okay.
Can you see the old metal part in that picture?
From the old staircase.
Yeah.
It's all been removed. A lot of rail ties, a lot of
What about the metal portion?
the metal portion of this staircase.
Yeah.
I believe the park board voted to change it to wood. So there's
Okay.
concrete footers and then a wood base. It was re-engineered in 2020, 2019. I think that was one of the first matters I got to be a part of.
It's well put.
All right, moving on then. The next item under old business is Heritage Trail Phase 2.
The playground has been open to the public and enjoyed for the past couple of weeks. All of the major milestones of the Heritage Trail Phase 2 expansion are complete. We did note one or two small details that'll be corrected by Globe Asphalt, and then we will begin to sign off on the project and enjoy the new expansion in our park. From here, next spring, the department will begin to reinvent the Heritage Trail garden plots as well as the hoop house. So that's our major project for Q1 of 2022, and we're excited to begin on that.
And that's going to include better ADA access.
Yep, the goal is to prepare the site for the hoop house, create an ADA landing or access ramp from the parking lot to the crushed aggregate that'll surround the hoop house. There'll be 6 accessible ADA garden plots that'll be reservable and be able to use. And we also want to look at creating pathways throughout the garden plot system so that people can walk between their plots easier and access the compost bin that we just installed. So additionally, we're going to add topsoil to the Heritage Trail garden plots. We've received a lot of comments of how the challenges with the clay out there. So every year we'll continue to improve our garden program.
Anybody have any thoughts on Heritage Trail? All right, let's move on to Winterfest, the fun topic tonight.
So this has been a very active past 2 weeks for Winterfest that we have successfully constructed the platform, placed the ice rink, had the initial fill with the fire department, and I want to thank the fire department for their assistance, providing over 3,000 gallons of water for that initial fill. So thank you, Zionsville Fire Department. The lighting structures are going up as well as the sound equipment, and we're putting on the finishing touches with decor. I want to also thank the Zionsville Parks Foundation for providing the decorations near the Holiday Village. There's a small sample of what you'll see when you're on site at Mulberry Fields there. So thank you to both of those organizations. It really does take a village to pull off these community events, and we're excited to open our doors and welcome in the community on Friday.
And I would say props to Mindy too and her team for what they've done there. They've done a great job decorating. They're what, 60 different activities planned through the end of the month. I mean, they're
Over
working
40
awfully hard.
programs, and some of these programs have registration limits of 300. So we will be entertaining and providing programming for a large portion of Zionsville. So we're very excited about that. We've provided programs for all ages, so we're excited for everybody to come out.
Yeah, activities like fire pits and s'mores and all that people will really enjoy. And also, you can rent the rink for what, 90 minutes for $800, and several people have done that already too.
Yep, we have a few available private rentals left. And again, for that $800, you do receive exclusive use of the rink for an hour and a half, as well as 2 shelters to accommodate any foods or things you bring in. And again, that's kind of the exclusive use of the rink before it opens up to the public. So pretty cool opportunity. We've had the Union Elementary Dad's group take advantage of that, as well as a couple other of our citizens. So
yeah, it's a great event. It's going to be really something.
Hey, Jared, with the warm weather forecast, is that any concern?
no, I sleep easy with the temperatures. It's more rain I'm worried about.
Okay.
So these ice rinks with the glycol system, they actually put them on the roofs of Las Vegas buildings, so you can skate in 90 degrees. So
Okay.
We'll be okay in our 60s and 40s. So rest easy there.
Rain will make it sloppy.
Rain is just not going to be fun to skate in, but we'll weather that, and it looks like a good Saturday. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and if the skies open up and give us some snow, it'll be even better. We'll have sledding and we'll have,
Mindy and Wendy are ready and on standby with their sleds. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Other board related items. Is there anything else that we have on the agenda, or anything else in anybody's mind? Roger?
Just noticed that Tricia arrived, so you should maybe give her the opportunity if there's anything she'd like to add.
Tricia?
Well, Tricia, the exciting part was the notion that we could be prepared to bid 3 projects: the North Connector, the Trailhead project, and the widening of the rail trail, all as one package. True? I mean, if things go as planned, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I hadn't even thought about, but anything we can do to improve efficiencies and get these projects done is good for the town.
And with that in mind, let me ask you, we've talked about the golf course cart path project. Is that proceeding in a way that we should feel good about from your point of view? Why don't you come on up and speak in the mic so we can. Thank you.
It was until this week's weather. The cart paths are, the old ones are gone, they're dug out. So there is some depression. And then we already know that there's low spot there on the golf course where water just gathers anyway. So now it's also gathered where the cart paths were. And we're getting towards the end of, I've checked the weather here in Zionsville every day for the temperatures for laying the asphalt. So I'm still fingers crossed that they can do it, but it's looking less encouraging for the asphalt getting down before it turns cold.
Well, on one positive note, the work that Duke has done there has dovetailed nicely with the work that we're doing on the golf course, cart paths, and on the course in general. So there is some good synergies there, as it turns out.
The work they're doing is good. It's great. It's going to make such a huge difference in what's there. It's just the weather is not cooperating with us quite the way I would like.
So we're looking, like, if can't delay asphalt, we're looking at March, right?
It depends. The way we do it is we have it dependent on when the asphalt plants open back up. So that if the weather turns earlier, then it's done earlier to be sure, you know, we're at the top of the list if it does move to the spring.
Anybody have anything else? All right, let's move on to claims. Anybody have any comments or questions about the claims?
Yeah, I had one, Jared. There's a, Nathan Bennett Winterfest 2021, 13,700. What was that?
That is for the lighting and sound at the Winterfest.
Oh, lighting and sound,
That's 50% of that bill that was approved earlier in the year. So
I
that'll
looked back, I
provide.
was trying to figure out, but it just, because it was just a name, I wasn't able.
Yeah. So the new finance system, it sometimes lists organizations as their owner.
Oh,
So you'll notice whenever you see the name Susan Love, that's actually our Anytime Outhouse rentals of our portable restrooms. So there are some challenges with the claims that we're continuing to have conversations with to make sure we're able to provide that in a timely manner and answer any questions that may arise.
thank you.
There is one item in claims for scorecards and signs and posts. Where are we on rearranging the holes and starting on 4 rather than the current 1 and all that? Is that still happening, or is that going to be put on hold for now?
We're going to put that on hold for now. There's been some great points raised by Mike and Pete and other professionals out of the course. So for the time being, we will keep the flow of the course and reevaluate that in the future. I think there are merits to both decisions. So I support Mike and his staff as they want to leave it for next year.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Anybody have a motion then to accept the claims?
A motion to accept the claims.
All right. John Wallenberg makes a motion to accept the claims. I will second that motion. And we'll take a roll call vote. Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
and I also say aye. So the claims pass unanimously. Before we make a motion to adjourn, I want to remind everybody that the Winterfest ribbon cutting ceremony will be Friday at 3 p.m. Anybody who is able to come out, I think I would encourage you to do so. It's going to be a great opportunity to begin a great new Zionsville tradition. Other than that, I hope you all have a great holiday. And a reminder that our next meeting is January 12th of 2022. So with all that in mind, if there's no more comments from any of the board members, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Jill Pack makes the motion, John Wallenberg seconds, and we're going to take a roll call because we're on live and Zoom. So we'll start with Tim Cassidy. Tim.
At 60 minutes, I vote aye.
John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Jill Pack.
Aye.
John Salowitz.
Aye.
And I too say aye. So we adjourn unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing everybody in January.
Thank you.
That's good. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Tim.